we'll touch on that,
Okay,
okay?
I didn't know. I
Thank
says,
you
okay,
for
maybe it has something to
joining.
do. Huh?
I said thank you for joining. You broke up in there though. What were you
Yeah.
saying?
We were trying to figure out what husbandry meant. We thought maybe it was had something to do with breeding, but I couldn't figure it out.
That's
So
okay.
yeah.
We'll hit on that at the end, okay? Because believe it
Okay,
or not,
sounds good.
we do a little bit of that.
Okay. It has to
Yeah.
do with, I looked at the dictionary, it said farming.
Farmers do it. Yep, you're right.
Okay,
But
okay, okay,
it's a
okay,
pretty cool topic. I
okay.
wanted to introduce it because I think as puppy raisers, we don't even realize we're doing a little bit of that by raising our puppies and teaching them a couple of things. And so we'll go into that.
Okay,
We
good.
have
Thank
about
you.
Yeah, we have about a minute left.
Okay.
So if someone has not muted their microphones, if you could please do that, that would be
I'm gonna do
wonderful.
I'm gonna do that now.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll start right on time. And I'm so grateful that the puppy raisers that couldn't make it the last few times finally figured out how to make it on. I can relate to that myself because with technology, I have special moments as well. But you know what? That's okay. I'm glad to see some of your faces. All right, well, let's start, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. These are virtual training sessions that Puppy Development loves to offer our puppy raisers, and we hope that these benefit you. And if you have questions or concerns, reach out to your puppy counselors. And of course, Puppy Development is here, but your counselors are a wonderful resource. All right, let's move on. Our topic today, it involves handler's exam and husbandry behaviors, which we'll reach towards the end and touch on briefly. Now, the reason I picked this topic is I feel like it's extremely important when your puppy returns for training and hopefully to become a leader dog. Our leader dogs are expected to tolerate physical exams without any excitement, fear, um, anxiety, or resentment. And that's a lot to ask. So, as puppy raisers, we are laying the foundation to help them accept being handled physically, whether it's for a vet exam, going for traveling purposes, because I don't know if many of you have traveled with your future leader dog puppies on flights before this pandemic, but they get handled pretty well during the security. So it's very important that we lay the foundation for them. Now, I start this off when they're little, when I have them, and sometimes, I do it throughout this exact same way. When they're tired, I will touch and handle different parts of their body, mark and reward. I can do sometimes just their face, like their mouth, their teeth. Sometimes I'll do their whole body, but I usually pick a time when my puppy's tired and relaxing. So, and I grab some kibble, just kibble, and it works pretty well. That's the beginning of this foundation that I'm laying. And it's divided up into pieces in this presentation. So I'd like to start by sharing my screen with you. And as if you've attended my previous sessions, you know when I share my screen, I do special things. So let's find my screen and see what I get.
That's how many people are in it? I would think so. That's a lot.
As Vijay is doing so, please, just as a reminder, to mute your microphones so that we can just focus on Vijay's voice during the presentation. If you have questions at the end, then you can unmute your microphones at that time.
All right, guys. I think I can do this. Can everyone see this?
We see it, Vijay.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so excited, guys. Let me share it on the full screen. And we'll go from here. So handlers and husbandry behavior. Now, I spoke briefly about touching your puppy and handling your puppy when they're sleepy and tired. But another piece of this is working with your puppy on an exercise and activity that we call hands-on, hands-off. And in this video, I have a demonstration of that exercise. Now, this exercise is really well because it works from when you handle your puppy to when someone else handles your puppy. So it's really difficult for a puppy sometimes as strangers come, but this exercise will help lay the foundation for your puppy accepting a lot of people touching them. The hands-on, hands-off exercise has a couple components to it. The first is you need the handler, which is the person holding the leash and the treats. You need the assessor, the person that's going to touch the puppy everywhere. And then you also need to be cognizant that you only do this for a couple of minutes. You might start off with your puppy just doing a certain area and then gradually build up to the whole body. Now, this is done outdoors, and this is Future Leader Dog Bowman. He is on the platform here. So let's see how this goes. There's a lot of distractions. Now, another thing I want to mention before we go into this is in my hand, I'm holding a piece of jerky. Sometimes kibble works okay, but other times, you know, you might need something more of a higher value. I'm using jerky because he's already eaten and because behind my assessor there's a bunch of wildlife, and behind me is a Great Dane on the other side, and in front of Bowman are the other two dogs staring at him. Usually he does work for kibble, but this time not so much. So you might not be able to hear the sound of this video, but I want you to watch the assessor's hands because you will see a distinct pulling away when I say hands off. So hands on, hands off. Okay, so another couple of things that the reason the assessor pulled away that far was because one, he loves her and she thought he might jump off and give her kisses. But another thing too is when the handler is holding the puppy and saying hands off, they could say hands off because the treats are done. They could say hands off because the puppy is just not tolerating this. It could be for a variety of reasons, but the control is with the handler. They're the ones that are dictating how fast, how slow, when to start, when to stop this exercise. It's good to have a game plan before you start. Anu and that's my daughter, had a game plan. We were going to do the whole exam. But as I mentioned, when you first start working with your puppy, even when you first do the physical exams when they're young, you might want to break it down. You might want to just do the head, just do the body, just do the legs, just do the mouth. And maybe some parts of the body need more work than others. So have a game plan and have some tasty treats. Let's see. Oops, not this one. Oh no. Yeah. Oh no. I think you guys are seeing my whole slide, but let's start again. All right. So let's go back. This time I think I was trigger happy. So you start out with helping your puppy, touching and doing a physical exam when they're tired. Then we can do the hands-on, hands-off. And now we're finally at the handler's exam. Some of you may be new puppy raisers and you're probably thinking, what is a handler's exam? A handler's exam is a piece of our IFT, which is the In-For Training Assessment. Currently, we have suspended those assessments because of the pandemic, and we will move forward and see where we're at. But these assessments are done for puppies when they're 10 months or older, and they're done by an IFT assessor from Leader Dogs for the Blind. The assessor will check your puppy's health from head to toe. They will check the ears, the teeth, the eyes, the underbelly, in between the paw pads. They also brush your puppy as well. And you know, it takes a few. Okay. I do have a video. I think I was echoing. I don't know if anyone else heard that. That's why I paused for a moment. But I have a video for the handler's exam. The difference that I want you to note is for the hands-on, hands-off exercise. The treat delivery is continuous. I had the jerky right at Bowman's mouth. And for the handler's exam, you will see periodic treat delivery. And I also want you to note that when the assessor comes, she's doing this very quickly. And again, it's because of the distractions in the environment. So let's play this. There's the teeth. Okay, so a couple more things. I'd like to just mention that I did put my hand under Bowman's chin because he was getting a little too excited with the treat delivery, and he does know chin rest behavior. The other thing I want you to note is that the delivery of the treats is only when I saw him look for the brush. That was one of them. And the other was when he was getting a little bit too excited. He usually is really well with handler's exams, and I don't really need to give him a treat because he thinks it's really wonderful that someone touches him and is handling him. But because of the distractions in the environment, I just reinforced him. So I'm going to play it again. I want you to watch the chin rest and also when the reinforcement is given. Okay, so recapping, when you start with your puppy and you are working towards the behavior that your puppy can tolerate physical exams without excitement, without tension, anxiety, fear, you are going to first yourself handle your puppy, touch your puppy in different parts, mark and reward. When I first start out with little puppies and they don't know what the marker word is, I might just touch their ear and give them a piece of kibble. Once you've gotten your puppy comfortable with you handling the different parts of their body and examining the different parts of their body, you can incorporate someone else coming in. And I start with family members or people that the puppy knows, and I do the hands-on, hands-off exercise. The hands-on, hands-off exercise is a great foundation. It breaks it up. It gives control to you, the handler, and to the puppy. If the puppy's uncomfortable, you can stop this activity quickly. Now, after the hands-on, hands-off, we get into the handler's exam. And it's called the handler's exam, but I like to think of it sometimes as just a vet check. When I first started raising puppies, that's what I thought of it as a vet check. So I hope that helped. Now, a couple of you had questions about husbandry behaviors. And the reason I wanted to include this in this presentation is because I find that they're extremely important. These behaviors and these techniques that they use in evolving husbandry behaviors in animals and helping them accept different procedures has been around in the Zoology Society for many, many years, way, way longer time. Zoos have incorporated this. I wish we could have done this sooner in our dog world, but hey, it's never too late. Also, farmers use these as well. Now, the definition, I know Nancy said, I looked up the definition, Vijay, and I didn't. Well, that's okay, Nancy. The only reason I wanted to give a definition here is so you have some familiarity on where I'm going with this topic. So the definition of behavioral animal husbandry that I found, and this was in the Zoological Society, is that it's the component of daily animal care focused on how animals interact with their physical and social environments, which is all wonderful. So it's based on, caring for the animal, and it's with a social aspect of it and the physical aspect of it. But what I found, the part of the definition, and that's why I listed it separately, was the goal. The goal, it includes the voluntary participation of the animal in their care. And it also allows them opportunities to express species typical behaviors. So for example, we'll stay with our puppies. I have slides of other animals as well, but we'll stay with our puppies. What is a husbandry behavior or a behavior that we work on and we don't even know it's a husband? How about their nail trimming? How about brushing their teeth? This is care that our dogs need. But we need to work with them to accept this and give us an opportunity, voluntarily give it to us to care for them in this way. I think it's pretty cool. So I visited a lot of rescues, wildlife rescues, zoos as a family we love. And I've been fortunate enough to go behind the scenes of zoos and also conservation societies. And it's just amazing that with positive reinforcement, how these wild animals will offer willingly their hoofs, their paws, their rear ends, their backs, and allowing their caretakers to give them shots, to brush their teeth even, I think is amazing. So guess what, puppy raisers, without realizing, you do these behaviors with your puppies. You are reinforcing for them, giving you their paw, letting you brush their teeth, letting you groom them, bathe them. So for the next slide, since we're sticking to dogs right now, this is about nail trimming. Now in our home, it is like the most wonderful, joyous thing that has ever happened for these dogs. But it hasn't always been so. For each dog, they have reached this happy place through their own journey. And I started this session a little bit earlier because this is she's our nail clipper genius here. And she is just starting to get a cup of kibble. That's all we use is kibble. And they're fine. And we do this before their meals. And I want you to watch and see how excited they get. Now, when she sits down, on her left, you'll see the shepherd sit down at her mat. You can't see it because I wanted you to focus on the nail trimming. And on the other side, you don't see the other dog, but he is on his mat. So these puppies have been stationed, but I'd like you to see how excited they get just to get their nails done. Do you see the shepherd prowl there and the kiss of the lab? Okay, so for this video, this is just a few seconds of time, but to get to this time and this comfort level, there's been a lot of work put in. Bowman is today is his birthday, he's a year old, and when he first started with his nails being clipped, there was the left back paw, I think, and the right front paw that were a little bit more sensitive. For our other dogs, they have their sensitive paws as well. But you notice now that the behavior that he's developed is accepting, it's voluntary, and there is no tension, resentment, there is no anxiety or fear there. So that's a wonderful thing. So remember, we're doing husbandry behaviors ourselves. Let me go to the next slide. And I'd like to share with you a couple of pictures that I found at the Zoological Society. And this is a zookeeper at the zoo, Twycross Zoo. And they're working on what they call approximation for a voluntary injection on a behavior for a chimpanzee. So they do have that protective behavior, but the chimpanzee's sitting there. They've offered their arm. This caretaker is poking their finger at the arm. So I'd like you to think as you're looking at this slide that, you know, you're going to have your future leader dogs return as well. They're going to be throughout their careers, whether they're leader dogs, another service organization, they will be poked and prodded. And if you can lay the foundation to accept these behaviors of touching and examining and allowing them to learn that it isn't scary, it could be pleasant, maybe, you know, at the end they will feel better. But that's the foundation that you are laying. I really like this picture. I have one more to share with you. And the reason I wanted to share it, we'll talk about targets at another place, but this is a leopard. And this zookeeper here is having the leopard touch, whoops. Oh my goodness, I lost it. But we're not gonna go backwards because then you'll see all the slides again. But the zookeeper was having the leopard touch the target. And if you can think about this for a second, that leopard is in close proximity. They're accepting the zookeeper putting something close to them. And this could build something more that perhaps the next time the zookeeper will put something at the rear end. Maybe they will target the front paw. So with this voluntary behavior of, hey, I'm
Excuse
here.
me, Vijay, you're
Yeah.
on the last slide.
Yeah, thank you. The reason the last slide is up because I can't get back to my leopard, but thank you for that. Yeah. Did you see the leopard?
No, I missed it.
Oh, well, okay. Well, then we're going to go back just for you. Hold on.
Sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. Let me put
Oh,
it
there it is.
for you. We have time.
I just
Here you go.
blinked.
Can you see?
Yes.
Awesome. Oh, you're very welcome. I wish I had pictures. I tried to download the ones of mine, my personal ones, but they wouldn't take. So I went on the internet and found ones that I thought were really cool. You notice in the bowl, she's got some reinforcement. And here, our marker word is yes. But if you look, what is her marker word? Is it a word? No, she's using a whistle, it looks like, correct? And again, the protective behavior. So I've shared these of other animals because I wanted you to be aware that we are using husbandry behaviors, but also that the animal world has been using them. I'm going to come back on for a very long time. Now, can everyone see me again?
We see you, Vijay.
Okay, so I hope that this presentation has gone from a basic to a more complex way of looking at something. It's a behavior that in the end isn't really complex, but it's been put together by these pieces. You start out by having your puppy accept your handling, your touching, your examination. It goes on to the hands-on, hands-off with someone else examining your puppy in a controlled way. It leads to the handler's exam. And finally, when they come back to leader dogs, they will be able to at least accept some physical examinations with more confidence, with less, hopefully, fear elements in them. And on that note of fear, Melissa will be hitting on fear-free later on. So I hope this helped. This will be available later, but I'd like to open up for questions now because I'm sure there's quite a few. I've given you a lot of information. So I see already in my chat box that Mary has said, Vijay didn't remind us about the kibble during the IFTs. Yeah, she's right. Mary, you are very right. During the IFTs, do not use food reinforcers. So yes, you are extremely right, Mary. And Cheryl, you had a question as well. You say, is there a voluntary way to teach the puppy to open his mouth? I can lift her lips when she has jaws of steel that comes to trying to open her mouth. There is a voluntary way. You'll have to make a teaching plan and gradually break down that behavior, Cheryl. If you want, we can talk about that later. Future leader, if you can have your puppy accept, I usually find the chin rest helps me. You can have the chin rest, lift up one lip, lift up the other lip, and gradually build on that. I wouldn't force your puppy too much right now, but we can go over that. Send me an email and I can help you make a teaching plan for it. Any other questions?
Vijay, did you happen to see Dana's question about if your puppy has some sensitivity before you get to the successful part with trimming your nail as Anu was doing? What if your puppy's jerking their foot away?
Oh, yeah. So she had a question about jerking feet away for sensitivity, Melissa. Am I understanding?
Yeah, Dana, if you want to unmute your mic, you can go on and ask Vijay your question.
Yeah, hi guys.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Miss Dana. How
All
are
right,
you?
good. So my question is kind of, I have a dog that's very aversive to having her nails trimmed. And so much so she knows the bowl in the kitchen that I keep the nail trimmers. And if she hears me touch it, she runs. So
Okay.
I'm wondering, like, what are the first steps? Because getting to the nail trim is a very long process at this point with that dog. So what are the first things that I can do to pair maybe the trimmers with something positive or whatever? What would you suggest to get her to a point to even allow me then to hold a paw and potentially trim a nail?
Okay, that is a great question. One thing I can tell you is that you have to change that environment. So get your nail trimmer and maybe just lay it down on the floor. Just don't even mark or treat for it. Lay it down on the floor and ignore it for a while. Let it just be there. It sounds kind of funny, but just let it be there. It's not touching her or I don't know if it's your is it JB or is it Ozzy, but
It's June bug.
okay, yeah, it's not touching her. It's just hanging there. It's a piece of the world. The next thing I would do is move it in different areas. And this is like really breaking it down, Dana. And the reason I'm really breaking it down because so many of my dogs have had bad experiences. By so many, I think more than two is too many. Bad experiences with groomers that they would see a nail clipper or anything and they would just leave. So I would start out by moving just at different places. It could be on the floor, it could be on a table, just let it hang there. The next thing I would do is just put a treat next to it. And just put a cool treat. I don't know, if she's hungry, put a piece of kibble. And then the next thing I would do is hold it in my hand, not even cut, just walk around it with it in your hand. You don't have to treat her. Then sit down, and if she comes to you, just treat her. But that nail clipper is in your hand. And the next thing I would do is wherever you sit, we sit on the floor because we have big dogs, and they'll knock over the tables and the chairs because they all want to get at it. So we sit on the floor. But the place where you are going to trim those nails, and I would recommend a different whole total new environment, sit there and just treat holding on to that nail clipper. The next thing is when she starts sitting down next to you and just hanging out with you, and do it when she's tired, when she likes some snuggles or cuddles and you've got that nail clipper in your hand, just touch her paw and drop a treat. It sounds like a lot of different pieces, and it sounds like it's going to take you forever, but it won't. It's just a lot of little tiny pieces that you're going to build up until, and I think you see where I'm going with this. Once you've touched her paw with the nail clipper, just keep reinforcing that the most. And I wouldn't just go right to nail clipping. I would do it with every paw. I would again walk around with a nail clipper. It might be a piece of your, tool belt, I don't know. But I would wait until she is just like, oh man, that's just hanging there. And that goes with anything that gives our puppies fear, anxiety. I've done it with vacuum cleaners, but when it comes to something touching their bodies, whether it's a nail clipper, a towel, a brush, you have to be very cognizant that that puppy, that animal is just so afraid. It's just like me. I don't like to be touched on my shoulders. So be very cognizant of that. I hope that helped. And if she reverts back and she does not want her paw handled at all, let it go. My shepherd it took us at least a month or two before, now she's the first one down on the floor. You saw her in the video, but and that was just because a groomer just had trimmed those nails. It just takes one thing and they can build on, and think of our own anxieties or fears, how much we can build on those. Until something helps us through it. So,
Vijay, if I could suggest something that I
Of
learned at
course.
one of the training clinics,
yeah,
that spaghetti, the raw spaghetti, if they're afraid
yeah.
of the noise of the clipping, is you clip spaghetti around them and they get used to the noise of
Oh
clipping.
my goodness. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for bringing it up. That's another piece you can add, Dana. You can add the sound to it too before you actually cut the nails. Thank you so much for sharing that. I totally forgot about the noodles. I can't believe that. But yeah, that is true. You can add the sound, so that's another piece of it as well. Any other questions, guys? Matthew, you said, would it also help just to handle her feet more? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that those are great suggestions. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody's questions. I apologize if I have. But any questions on anything else that you guys saw today or watched today? I can't stress enough that this is something that you will have to build on gradually. Dana's question was really wonderful because there are so many pieces to just that one part of the nail trimming. So imagine us touching our puppies everywhere, whether it's to examine their ears or lift up their lips, to check their teeth or look at their eyes. The past 3 dogs that I've had needed some eye drops. And, it's something coming at our eyes. It's like, ooh, our first reaction is to pull away. So that is something that we have to be very aware of, that we build this for our puppies. And I've heard a couple of times with other friends and family members, well, just hold them and it'll be done faster. Maybe the very first time, but then you're building something that is not correct, that will lead to negative outcomes. The first time holding and restraining an animal or a person might work, but the next time they'll be ready for you, and the next time after that. And it's not really easier, it's not faster. It definitely doesn't create a great experience for your puppy. It doesn't create a great experience for us as well. So build on those behaviors in a correct way. Do it in a safe environment. Do it first yourself, then bring in someone else, then work towards the handler's exam. And when you go to your vet checks, when you go for any kind of an exam, talk to the vet. Our vets at Leader Dogs for the Blind are aware of these ways that we teach our puppies. But if you have to go to another clinic, I've gone to different clinics and they're very open. I've encountered friendly personnel, both the vet techs and the veterinarians, that are willing to work with me. So just say, hey, my puppy, they have a fear of nail trimming. They have a fear of, they don't like their ears pulled on. They don't like, and just work with them. They're more than willing to work with you. I found that vet techs are one of the most understanding, patient people, that you just need to let them know that my puppy is having difficulty with XYZ, and they will work with you on this. Okay, and I see Celise, I like that comment. I like trimming nails on a sleepy puppy as well. That's very good. And then Matthew, you said also having an assistant continuously provide kibble while trimming so they can get the kibble. Yes, that's true. As dog owners and dog trainers, we think we're so cool, but in reality, zoos and farmers have been working on these type of things for a very long time. That's why I wanted to bring husbandry into this. I just think they're amazing. And the zoos, when I go to visit them behind the scenes and watch them care for their animals. And again, I mentioned going to conservation areas. When they care for their animals, they have built up these behaviors of offering a having the caretakers handling them, and they've worked on these diligently now. And then it gets to a point where not only do they save themselves time, the animals are happier, and the persons taking care of the animals are a lot safer. Even something as simple as putting balm on the palm of a monkey's because they're dry. The monkeys have dry palms and they're very skittish and they're all in the trees. I mean, think about it. How cool is that they just come and they offer their paws right there and they just swipe that balm on them and then they're off to go. So I hope this has given you some thought. Please, please, please reach out to your counselors, reach out to puppy development, but your counselors are there. They're always willing to support you and they're always willing to answer your questions. Email them, call them, and puppy development coordinators are ready, and we will have our next session on Thursday. And I think, Melissa, is it at 5 or is it 12? I forgot.
Originally it was supposed to be at noon, but I realized that we didn't have a 5 o'clock session.
Okay.
This week. So maybe what we can do is, if you guys want to throw out comments in the chat room, tell me if you prefer to have it at 5 or at noon. Like I said, originally it was at noon, but I realized we didn't have a 5 o'clock session this week. So let us know what your preference is. If you want a 12 o'clock session or a 5 o'clock session, I can be flexible. And we are going to be doing grooming and fear-free, a little bit of fear-free / low stress handling of grooming.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then Laura has her session on Saturday, and that's at 10 o'clock. And she's going to play a wonderful game with you. It's called I Spy. It
Yep,
builds
and we're
on-
going to, that's going to be a live game. So have your puppies ready to play. We're going to go over a little short video presentation of what it looks like and how to troubleshoot issues, but then we're going to actually play it. So.
Yep, thank you, Laura. And I wanted to mention one more comment because not only kibble and jerky, but you can use other forms of treat delivery on the hands-off and practicing your handler's exam. Suzanne says she likes to use a sticky bone filled with peanut butter. You can use lickety sticks. You can use a tube filled with baby food or another high-value treat like peanut butter. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you guys so very much for joining us. We really appreciate all your efforts through these different times, and reach out to us if you need anything, if you have any questions. Thanks. Have a safe one. Bye-bye.